If you were to walk up on just about any old school gamer on the street and ask them what their favorite Black Ops 2 map is, you know what they would tell you? Nuketown Slums. Yeah, so it turns out that hive minds only really exist on the internet. But if you ask me, most days of the week, I would tell you Hijacked. One of the most iconic Call of Duty maps of all time, with several remakes only thickening the lore behind its travels through time, space, and the liminal void between the two. Taking place on a luxurious 150-meter-long superyacht, Hijacked is the screensaver daydream of maps. In that, for a brief moment, it lets you feel like you're a member of the 1% so rich that you can put a body of water inside of another body of water. But it's really the fast-paced and close-quarters gameplay that makes Hijacked stick out from the rest of the pack, with a layout consisting of 2 bases in each spawn, with upstairs overview areas for sniping, 2 paths around each converging in the middle, and deep spawns behind each of them. Oh my god, that's just Nuketown. Oh fuck. Has Hijacked been Nuketown this whole fucking time? But don't fret, because there's actually one huge thing that Hijacked has over its contemporaries, and that's this underground engine room that connects the 2 bases, adding a literal third dimension to cross the admittedly pretty small-sized map. But for being so small, at least by old-school COD standards, there's actually a lot of secret lore and points of intrigue hidden around for those bold enough to stop sprinting for a second and smell the rosé. For instance, I think most of us know the origin of the ship's name, Von Voyage, of course being a reference to David Von der Haar, longtime Treyarch dev who was basically the guy that everyone blamed whenever something bad happened to them in-game. It's like if SBMM and Aim Assist had just like one unifying name that we could all curse together, you know, like Alan. You know, fuck Alan, he's the fucking worst. Fuck you, Alan. But some other quirks around the map include this here grenade hole, which lets you quickly flush out the help down below when they get a little bit too unruly. This is also how I assume that toilets work on a boat this fancy, but I only just started making enough to buy health insurance last month, so I'll let you know when I get to that level of wealth. Now, you may also be wondering to yourself exactly how certain kill streaks work on this boat, what with it being, you know, in the middle of the ocean and all. Well, while helicopters and the like can just kind of warp into existence within a second of being called from the mainland, the real weird one here is dogs, which just kind of appear out of the cargo hold, which, first of all, I'm just gonna say, is an amazing detail that they did not need to add. But because they did add it, does this imply that the dogs are always down there? Like, is Von smuggling German shepherds across the Atlantic for some reason? Should we be concerned about? Like, I don't think it's illegal, but now look, you know me. All right, I can talk for hours about the myriad of inconsistencies to how this boat's interiors are laid out, from the weird appliances that don't have enough room to open and completely inaccessible sections of the cabin. But I'm really trying to grow as a creator, okay? I'm not about to stoop down to that level again. Editor, delete the last 15 seconds. But I did want to know one thing. Where exactly is Hijacked going? See, this map has appeared in at least one way across 5 different games, now with a 6th one on the way. So I wanted to pinpoint exactly where it's been and see if I can figure out where it's headed. So let's start this thing off with the original map. Now, I was actually really expecting this screen up here in the bridge to at least give me some kind of clue as to where we are, but there are no labels on the map here. And I was personally raised American, so unless this peninsula is Florida, I got fucking nothing, man. And climbing to a tall point and looking around only tends to raise even more questions. For instance, what's up with these small unmanned sailboats just loitering around us? Are they from that island? Because it looks completely uninhabited, which we'll touch more on here in a sec. However, there is one really cool and frankly underappreciated feature of Black Ops 2, and that is the tactical insertion, which when equipped tells you your exact coordinates. So we're gonna go ahead and plug those things into Google Maps, and bada bing, bada boom, it throws us right here, smack dab in the middle of the Indian Ocean, just barely off the coast of a place called Amsterdam. I'm saying that wrong. Isle, maybe? A mostly uninhabited island with an estimated population of only 28. Probably researchers. I don't know. I only skimmed the Wikipedia page. It doesn't really matter. What does matter, though, is that if you go to that island back on Google Maps and just kind of skim the coast for a bit, you'll eventually find an actual boat roughly the same size as Hijacked right there on the map. Now, whether or not this was intentional or not, I think we can all agree this is pretty wacky, right? Like, that's fucking crazy. But that's actually not where it ends, because Hijacked actually also shows up somewhere else in Black Ops 2. This time just off the coast of the DLC map, Cove, which takes place on a deserted island where a plane seems to have crashed. Ay caramba! And if you look just off the coast, not only can you see Hijacked clear as day off in the distance, but there's even its smaller boats that have seemingly come to the island to help the survivors. But what's extra cool is that when you pull up the tack insert here, the coordinates sure enough point directly to the same exact island. Now, obviously, this island scale is way off to the actual Amsterdam Isle, but honestly, I'm just impressed with the level of detail here. This is above and beyond Treyarch. But now let's talk about a few other places that Hijacked has appeared not necessarily as its own map, but as a little Easter egg on other maps. The most well-known of which are back in Black Ops 3 on Aquarium and Splash. And now, I don't know how to put this lightly, so I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. These are not hijacked. Everyone says that these are the Bon Voyage hidden and partially sunk off the coast of these maps, but that's just not... That's just a lie. That's not real. See, Hijacked has this wavy blue accent to it and two big interiors, whereas this only has the one, and maybe you could say this one is a little blue, but it's definitely not that same little swoosh, little wave. This one is Adidas, not Nike. And like, trust me, okay, I wanted these to be Hijacked so bad, dude. I had this whole plan when initially pitching this video where I was gonna include all these crazy locations where it's shown up in the background and it like gets ridiculous. You know, eventually it turns out that the boat did JFK's assassination or something, but this isn't Hijacked. This is just another random boat. And speaking of random boats, here's some more boats in Call of Duty that, contrary to popular belief, aren't hijacked either. Lifeline and the new BO6 isn't hijacked. USS Texas is like the Nether version of hijacked in that it fucking sucks. Wetwork, by extension, is like the prototype hijacked before they lit it and moved on from blockout to actual models. Collision from Ghosts is not hijacked. The boat in Warzone is not hijacked. The beached sailboat on Miami is not hijacked. And the small boats in the back of Hijacked are not hijacked. That gets philosophical, I guess. But all of that said, Black Ops 3 actually did have its own version of Hijacked, very cleverly titled Skyjacked, which, if you couldn't put two and two together, places it now in the sky. they fly now? Now, for what it's worth, lore-wise, this obviously isn't the same ship. This one is actually named after Polesia, who was the head of Treyarch's Swiss Annex office. And obviously that means that the aesthetic has been completely updated as well, as BO3 blasted the franchise as far into the future as it should ever go, converting the pool into a cargo area, the hot tub into a big suction cup thing, and the kitchen into an armory, but all while keeping the signature blue and orange colors of the original, just kinda increasing the contrast and saturation a little bit, like you're in a YouTube video with nothing else going on for it. But gameplay-wise, it actually played more or less the same, just a bit bigger to accommodate everyone bouncing around Swiss airspace and breaking a massive hole in the hull, letting you cross into the underground area from the outside. However, this change in particular would never actually return, as each of the next remakes all patched this thing up and returned back to the original layout, with the exception of a single other game, and that was Black Ops 4, where the Bon Voyage appeared anchored off the coast of Eclipse. That's right, the Blackout map had a name, and it was Eclipse. I bet you didn't think you'd actually learn something here today, did you? And this one completely expanded the boat's footprint, adding new doors and areas, including finally a second bedroom, to make your guests feel a little less uncomfortable with the implication. This also included completely overhauling the lower deck, converting the engine room into entire bedrooms, bunks, living quarters, bathrooms, and even a little moon pool area for quick access. Oh, and you can actually swim in the pool now! Finally! Call of Duty caught up to where Super Mario was in 1985. But expanding the playable area here actually makes a ton of sense too, because they knew that this would be a hot drop, and seeing 75 dudes fight over a single bed was gonna get a little bit too kinky. And as far as location goes for this one, well, the Blackout map is widely believed to take place in California, according to the road signs and the overall smugness of the people who claim to like it better here than any of the other BR maps we've gotten since. So we're just gonna put a little pin right about here, about midway down CA, and move on. Next up, Hijacked also happens to appear in COD Mobile. Although I'm not gonna spend like a ton of time on this one, mostly because every time that I download this game, I end the day with second-degree burns from how it magically transforms my phone into a jailbroken hot plate. But here's some footage that I found of it online where, as best as I can tell, it appears to just be in a nondescript body of water surrounded on all sides by blurry coastline. So I don't know, I'm just gonna stick it here in the middle of one of the Great Lakes. I don't know how it would have gotten there, and that brings us to Black Ops Cold War, where Hijacked returned as part of the DLC season, now looking more sterile than ever, like a fertility doctor's work-from-home vessel. And this game was actually also nice enough to give us exact coordinates here too, which when plugged back into Google Maps, gives us a pin just 500 or so miles off the coast of Cape Town, South Africa. Now that said, I, for the life of me, cannot figure out the exact significance of this location. If anyone out there knows how South Africa connects back to Black Ops lore, but please let me know down below. This isn't a bit like the last video where I pretended not to know that Noct and Verrückt were based off of multiplayer maps, and everyone in the comments very, very earnestly and very nicely corrected me, which was really nice, honestly, and I kind of feel bad, but this is not like that. This is actual confusion here, I swear. As far as changes to the map go, though, the layout is basically untouched from the OG, but now with a resupply crate in the side area here. Hey, do you guys remember resupply crates, or am I being Mandela affected? Were these here? I mean, what's even the point of a resupply when the bar is already fully stocked with gum, olives, sex candy, and vodka? What more could you possibly ask for? And then we have Hijacked in Black Ops 7, which at the time of recording this is not yet out. But in an effort to future-proof this video, I'm gonna gaslight future generations here by talking about it as confidently as the first dude to look up at this collection of stars and say, yeah, that's a fucking horse. So first of all, it is confirmed to take place in Japan, exactly right here, as confirmed by satellite imagery and a dartboard. And that means that if you lay out every single point of every place that this boat has existed throughout the years, you end up with a map that looks like this. I think it's a horse.
What's up, y'all? I'm gonna have to be real quiet because it's early in the morning and I don't want to wake up my entire building. But thank you for watching that video. Shout out to channel members. They're listed all around me. If you want to become a channel member, it's actually cheaper than ever now. I finally went through and made it cheap as hell. I'm also gonna make some a bunch of members-only content. It's gonna be me talking over Call of Duty at a normal voice, at a regular, non-whispery, borderline cancerous voice. And that's about it. Bye.